When I see the steroid trial in wrestling, what do you picture? Do you picture a corrupt billionaire, possibly as a drug dealer, sending drugs to his performers? Do you see an old man who had been wrongfully accused of sending drugs to already meatheads? Or do you suspect that, or if people who have little to no knowledge of wrestling, everyone's on steroids? Yeah. I often don't enjoy when a person's legacy is surrounded by one moment. This actually, personally, it depends on who it is. Like, for example, O.J. Simpson possibly killing his wife and son, killing his wife and her friend. Yeah, that's kind of an inexcusable act. So that's kind of my opinion why. Don't go around O.J. If you see him. Just act like just act like him if he sees you. Don't talk to him. OJ's gonna kill me now. Oh dear. But yeah, the complex legacy of the steroid trial is a very interesting one. So, this brings up the question. What if the steroid trial had never happened? Or not that one. What if Vince McMahon was found guilty during the steroid trial? So, okay. Now, the only way for this to work, compared to my previous video, which you can watch on the channel, which was Vince never rises in and becomes leader of the WWF, which would become the WWF, which would become the WWE. Anyways, so say Vince McMahon is found guilty in the steroid trial. The concept of this is fascinating, of how wrestling would change. So, this spurs the question, which I will begin right now. The only way that Vince is found guilty is if the testimonies of Nails and Hulk Hogan just simply don't happen. So, for example, let's say that Nails never chokes Vince backstage. That's the only way I can imagine that happening. Because Nails held a grudge against Vince for a while before this. And Hogan, let's just say that it just doesn't happen, okay? I mean, or there's maybe some other alternate reason that he is found guilty. I don't know. I have a list to do. I have a video to do right now. So, okay. So, yeah. What happens? Well, I'm going to go over it. In this alternate scenario in wrestling, Vince is found not guilty. Or guilty, I mean. I'm an idiot. I meant to pause it. So, now the thing is that if anything, the Vince is found guilty, he's put in jail, and we'll see that the ownership to the WWF belongs to Jerry Jarrett. Why do I say this? Because, my fellow gentlemen of YouTube, if Vince was found guilty, Jerry Jarrett would have taken control of the company. So, another thing to oversimplify is okay. This is probably the first time I farted while recording. Wow, okay. So, overgeneralizing a lot of things. If anything, there's a couple things that still happen. Raw is still there, I guess. If anything, Jerry Jarrett decides that he's without stuff like this. Jerry Jarrett was kind of more. What's the best term for it? Jerry would push guys that Vince probably would not have pushed. Well, Vince probably would have pushed the meatheads and the big muscly men who looked like they had 10 times the amount of testosterone inside them. So it looked like their beards had beards. So, yeah. Basically, the thing is that Jerry Jarrett would have pushed guys just like Vince. He probably would have pushed Brett, Michaels, Razor, Diesel, etc. The difference? Well, the difference is that in 1994, the difference is that let's just say that by 1995, to be fair, hold on. So in 1995, Monday Nitro is still created, okay? The only difference is that Lex Luger does not show up for the show. Why? 1 second. Remember I said that Vince loved pushing meatheads that had more less body weight than I do? I mean, come on. My sister calls me fat, but I don't know. Looks like a normal human being. Anyways, I had to get that pointless backstory out of the way. Anyways, Vince would. The thing is that, yeah, things would be a lot different, might I say. So, what happens? Well, Monday Nitro isn't as big as you'd imagine. Sure, it still beats the WWF in the ratings, but without the impact of Luger showing up, I mean, it'd be the same exact day as June 2nd, 1977, which happened to be the birthday of my mother and AJ Styles. The twins, I guess. What am I gonna do? If anything, Jerry Jarrett wanted to keep things PG, which means no attitude era. One thing, okay? As you know, I gotta stop lip smacking. Sheesh. Okay. One. I may have mentioned before that the attitude era may have never happened because Jerry Jarrett was all PG. So basically, you'd be like, so think about it for a second, okay? Jerry Jarrett, we would not have seen the Attitude Era, come to think about it. We wouldn't have seen Stone Cold on top of the mountain. If anything, Stone Cold probably would have stayed in WCW. Or maybe we could have seen him in ECW. Who knows? Like he may have wrestled more than 2 matches in ECW. Who knows? But if anything, for the sake of the scenario, Steve Austin probably stays in WCW. The reason why is because, well, the thing is that, let me think here. Fact is, the reason that Steve Austin wouldn't join is that, well, WWF would be a sinking ship. And they probably would have been declining way faster than in our timeline. And because Jerry Jarrett was very PG, that no attitude era, which means so Austin, Rock, Undertaker, Kane, Triple H, and all those guys, we wouldn't see them on top of WWE. We wouldn't see Steve Austin as a Hall of Famer. Chances are, we would probably be watching WCW right now, if I might say. One thing that I think maybe ECW would have lasted longer than it did. Possibly until like 2006. So yeah. WWF probably would have... The thing is that about the WWF is that it would have lasted... It probably would have lasted until maybe the mid-2000s. At least. McMahon with the Attitude Era changed the landscape of the WWF. And yeah. Of course, we'd probably be watching Monday Nitro right now, and ECW would probably be the alternative to WCW. So, yeah. So, hope you enjoyed. This was a weird video to do for today. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.